Imagine living in a city where a $5 gallon of gas, a $600,000 mortgage, or a sudden layoff could crash the entire local economy. What if your city's budget relies on tourists spending billions, or homeowners barely keeping up with $3,000 a month rents? From flashy metros to struggling industrial hubs, some places are walking a financial tightrope, and it won't take much to tip them over. With rising debt, shrinking job markets, and inflated housing costs, these cities could be the first to fall if a recession hits. In this video, we're diving into 10 major US cities that are dangerously close to the edge, and one economic shock could send them spiraling. Number 10. Orlando, Florida. Orlando, not just the land of Mickey Mouse and Hogwarts, but a city that could be one of the first to take a serious hit if the US slips into a recession. Sounds wild, right? But hear me out. Orlando's economy is heavily built on tourism. We're talking about a city where over 74 million people visited in just 1 year pre-pandemic. That's more than the entire population of France. And guess what happens when wallets tighten and families cut back on vacations? You got it. Orlando feels the burn fast. In 2020, during the COVID economic slump, Orlando lost over 117,000 jobs, most of them in hospitality, retail, and leisure sectors. That was a jaw-dropping 11.6% drop in employment, one of the highest in the country. Now, mix that with the city's housing boom. As of 2024, the median home price in Orlando is hovering around $410,000, a big jump from just $265,000 back in 2017. That's over a 54% increase in under a decade. If a recession hits, housing values could plummet, especially when so many homes are owned by Airbnb investors banking on vacation traffic. Imagine the ripple effects: layoffs in hotels, empty restaurants, theme parks cutting hours, and people unable to pay inflated mortgages. And let's not forget the debt. The average household in Orlando carries over $60,000 in debt, with credit card delinquencies slowly rising again. The city's public budget also leans on tourist-generated tax revenue, like hotel and resort taxes. When visitors disappear, so does a huge slice of the city's income. So yeah, behind the roller coasters and sunshine, Orlando's economy has a glass jaw. One sharp recession punch, and this city could be reeling. It's magical, yes, but economically, fragile, especially when Disney layoffs become real headlines and Universal Studios cuts operating hours. So buckle up, because the happiest place on earth might face some unhappy numbers if the economy crashes again. Number 9. Tampa, Florida. Tampa might seem like a coastal paradise, but when recessions hit, it doesn't exactly sail smoothly. Let's start with the basics. Tampa is a city that thrives on sunshine, tourism, and real estate. But guess what all three have in common? They're extremely sensitive to economic slowdowns. In the 2008 housing crash, Tampa's home prices fell over 48%, one of the steepest declines in the US. Fast forward to 2024, and the median home price here is now hovering at around $430,000, a significant jump from $210,000 a decade ago. You can feel the bubble stretching thin, can't you? Now, think jobs. Tampa's economy is heavily concentrated in tourism, hospitality, and retail, sectors that collectively employ over 28% of the local workforce. When a recession rolls in, these are the first areas to freeze hiring or start layoffs. During the COVID-19 crash, Tampa saw unemployment soar to 13.1% in April 2020. Many workers here live paycheck to paycheck, and another economic hit could be devastating. And here's the kicker: Tampa is rapidly growing. The population grew by 16% over the past decade, pushing demand for housing, services, and infrastructure. But more people also means more pressure. If the job market tanks, the city could see rising homelessness, stalled construction projects, and a spike in crime, just like what happened in 2009. Plus, Tampa's flood risk and rising home insurance premiums are scaring off investors and homeowners alike. Some insurers have exited the Florida market entirely, causing costs to skyrocket by over 60% in some neighborhoods. That's not exactly what you want during a recession. So while Tampa may be all about beaches and Bolts games, its economy is sitting on a shaky dock. One bad wave, and this city could be underwater, economically speaking. Number 8. Providence, Rhode Island. Providence might have historic charm and Ivy League flair, shout out to Brown University, but economically, it's skating on thin ice. The capital of America's smallest state has a not-so-small problem: structural weakness in its job market and a history of economic hardship. The unemployment rate in Providence is consistently higher than the national average. In 2024, it hovered near 5.8%, compared to the U.S. average of 3.9%. During the Great Recession, Providence saw unemployment spike to 11.9%. Manufacturing once powered this city, but most of those jobs vanished decades ago. Today, the economy leans heavily on education, healthcare, and public employment, sectors vulnerable to state and federal budget cuts during recessions. Over 36% of jobs here are in government and nonprofit institutions. If budget tightening hits, expect layoffs and frozen salaries. And here's a stat that might surprise you. Providence has one of the highest poverty rates among northeastern cities, around 22%. Combine that with aging infrastructure, underfunded schools, and high housing costs. Median home price is now $385,000, up from $270,000 in 2019, and the city becomes a financial powder keg. Providence also faces significant fiscal stress. The city has over $1 billion in unfunded pension liabilities, one of the worst per capita rates in the country. That means if revenue drops, services like public safety, transportation, and schools could face serious cuts. Add in rising rents, stagnant wage growth, and an exodus of young professionals to bigger cities like Boston or New York, and it's clear: Providence could collapse fast under a recession. It's a city with grit, yes, but also one that's financially brittle when the economy turns sour. Number 7. San Diego, California. San Diego. Beautiful beaches, craft breweries, and sunshine 300 days a year. But beneath the coastal vibes is an economic warning sign flashing bright red. First off, it's one of the most expensive cities in America. The median home price in San Diego hit a jaw-dropping $880,000 in 2024, pricing out even many middle-class families. Rent for a modest 2-bedroom apartment? Around $3,200 per month. Now imagine trying to keep up with that in a recession. San Diego's job market is heavily reliant on tourism, real estate, and defense. And when the economy takes a hit, tourism is often the first domino to fall. In 2020, the city lost over 80,000 tourism-related jobs, and hotel occupancy dropped below 20%. Even in normal downturns, the travel industry slows, and that means fewer jobs, shuttered restaurants, and reduced sales tax revenue for the city. On top of that, the defense sector, though seemingly stable, can also feel the pinch if federal budgets are slashed. San Diego has the largest concentration of military personnel in the world, with over 110,000 active duty members and tens of thousands more civilian contractors. A pullback in defense spending could ripple through the entire economy. And don't forget about homelessness. San Diego has the 4th largest unsheltered homeless population in the U.S., and a housing crash or job losses could send those numbers soaring. Many residents are already living on the edge, with 43% of households spending more than 30% of their income on rent. So while San Diego may feel like paradise, it's paradise with a price tag and some serious vulnerabilities. If a recession slams the U.S., this sunny city could find itself in some very dark economic weather. Number 6. Phoenix, Arizona. Phoenix might be sizzling with sunshine and growth, but economically, it's walking on a tightrope. This desert giant has seen explosive expansion over the past decade. Since 2010, Phoenix has added nearly 1.2 million people to its metro population, and housing construction has struggled to keep up. The result? A housing market that feels hotter than a July sidewalk. Median home prices have skyrocketed to around $470,000 in 2024, more than double what they were in 2015. Now, here's the twist. Phoenix's economy leans hard on construction, real estate, and service industries. These sectors are like dominoes in a downturn. If the housing bubble bursts, or even trembles a bit, thousands of jobs could vanish overnight. In fact, during the 2008 financial crisis, Phoenix had one of the highest foreclosure rates in the country. At one point, 1 in every 15 homes was in foreclosure. Ouch! And let's talk water. Yes, water. Arizona is facing major water supply issues from the shrinking Colorado River. In a recession, budget cuts to water infrastructure or drought mitigation could compound the crisis and drive property values down even further. Who wants to invest in a city that's literally running dry? The average Phoenix resident is also financially stretched. Credit card debt per person averages around $6,400, and 43% of residents say they live paycheck to paycheck. Add in rising insurance premiums, surging energy bills during brutal summers, and expensive commutes, and you've got a population walking a financial tightrope. So while Phoenix shines bright with its growing skyline and booming suburbs, it's also one economic hiccup away from freefall. If the U.S. enters a recession, Phoenix could feel the heat like few others, and not just from the sun. Number 5. Miami, Florida. Miami, a city known for its beaches, nightlife, and high-rise condos. But behind that glossy postcard image is a fragile economy that could unravel quickly in a recession. Miami's economy is built on 3 pillars: tourism, international trade, and real estate. All 3 are among the most recession-sensitive industries in the world. In 2024, the median home price in Miami is sitting around $590,000, up a staggering 65% since 2015. And more than 35% of these homes are owned by foreign investors. If global economies tighten and investment slows, Miami's housing market could freeze, or worse, crash. We saw a preview of this in 2008, when condo prices in downtown Miami plummeted by over 50% and left the skyline full of empty ghost-like towers. Tourism is another red flag. Miami-Dade County saw nearly 27 million visitors in 2024, generating over $18 billion in spending. But in a recession, luxury vacations and nightlife get slashed from people's budgets fast. That means hotel layoffs, shuttered restaurants, and collapsing sales tax revenues. During COVID, Miami lost over 100,000 hospitality jobs in just a few months. Add in sea level rise and skyrocketing flood insurance premiums, some up by 80% in the last 5 years, and you've got a city that's not only expensive to live in, but also increasingly risky to invest in. Let's not forget income inequality. The top 5% of earners in Miami make nearly 11 times what the bottom 20% make. With nearly 1 in 4 households living below the poverty line, a recession could send thousands spiraling into homelessness or debt traps. Miami might sparkle with wealth and luxury, but it's built on shaky foundations. If the U.S. economy stumbles, this glittering city could crash hard and fast. Number 4. Riverside, California. Riverside may not be as flashy as LA, but it's one of the fastest growing cities in California. And that rapid growth comes with serious risks. Located in the Inland Empire, Riverside exploded in population over the past 2 decades, with over 2.4 million residents in the metro area as of 2024. And here's the kicker. Many people moved here for affordable housing, which has become, well, not so affordable anymore. The median home price in Riverside is now around $560,000, up from just $280,000 in 2015. That's a 100% increase in under 10 years. It's become a commuter hub for those working in LA or Orange County, but that means it's incredibly dependent on gas prices, jobs in surrounding cities, and a stable housing market. In a recession, those fragile connections can snap fast. In 2008, Riverside was one of the foreclosure capitals of America, with entire neighborhoods left abandoned. Some areas saw home values drop by 50%, and even now, many residents live in fear of history repeating itself. The city's job market is also concentrated in logistics, warehousing, and retail, industries that get hit hard when consumer spending drops. Amazon warehouses in the region have already downsized recently, laying off over 1,000 workers in just one quarter. Add in high levels of household debt, long commute times, averaging over 35 minutes, and limited public transit, and Riverside becomes a financial pressure cooker. If gas hits $6 again, it's game over for many low-income families. Riverside might look like the land of suburban dreams, but economically, it's stretched thin. A recession could send the housing market into freefall, wipe out jobs, and push thousands into default, making Riverside one of the first cities to collapse when things go south. Number 3. Las Vegas, Nevada. Las Vegas, the city that never sleeps, where fortunes are made and lost overnight. But when it comes to recessions, Vegas is usually one of the first to fold. Let's start with the obvious. Vegas lives and breathes tourism, hospitality, and entertainment. In 2024, the city welcomed over 40 million visitors, and the Las Vegas Strip alone generated $8.8 billion in gaming revenue. Sounds amazing, right? But that also means when people stop traveling or cut luxury expenses, Vegas gets hit like a slot machine gone bust. During the 2008 recession, Vegas had one of the worst economic crashes in the nation. Unemployment soared past 14%, and home values dropped by a shocking 60%. The city led the U.S. in foreclosures for multiple years. And just recently, during the COVID crash, nearly one-third of all jobs in the hospitality sector vanished in a matter of weeks. Today, the median home price in Las Vegas is around $440,000, up from just $230,000 in 2015. That's nearly a 91% increase, driven largely by investors and second home buyers. A recession could deflate that bubble fast, especially if tourism slows again. And with the average resident carrying over $7,000 in credit card debt, there's not a lot of wiggle room for financial shocks. Let's not forget water issues. Lake Mead is shrinking, drought concerns are rising, and if infrastructure investments slow during a recession, Vegas could face even more risk. Bottom line, Vegas may shine with glitz and glamour, but behind the neon lights is an economy hanging on the bets of others. If America's wallet closes, Vegas could be left dealing a losing hand. Number 2. Stockton, California. Stockton may not get as much national attention, but it's a name that sends shivers down economists' spines. Why? Because in 2012, Stockton became the largest U.S. city ever to declare bankruptcy at the time. With over $1 billion in debt, the city was broke. That crash followed a housing boom and bust where home values plummeted 44% between 2007 and 2009. Whole neighborhoods were left with boarded-up homes and foreclosed dreams. Today, Stockton has rebuilt, but cracks are still visible. The city remains highly reliant on construction, logistics, and public sector jobs, industries that are incredibly sensitive to recession waves. Amazon, which had a big warehouse presence here, has already reduced operations and jobs in the area. Unemployment in Stockton is still higher than the national average, sitting at around 6.2% in 2024. And the housing market? It's heating up again. Median home prices have rebounded to $480,000, a huge leap from just $250,000 in 2015. But it's a dangerous game. Much of that recovery is driven by investor activity and commuting professionals priced out of the Bay Area. If the job market slows or interest rates stay high, the housing market here could tumble again. Stockton also struggles with poverty. Nearly 20% of residents live below the poverty line, and crime rates remain significantly above national averages. In times of economic stress, public resources stretch thin, social tensions rise, and the cracks start to widen. So, while Stockton's story is one of resilience, it's also one of caution. Another national recession could be the tipping point, pulling this city back toward bankruptcy 2.0. Number 1. Detroit, Michigan. Detroit, a city that knows economic collapse better than any other in modern U.S. history. In 2013, Detroit filed for bankruptcy with over $18 billion in debt, the largest municipal bankruptcy in U.S. history. The Motor City was brought to its knees by decades of deindustrialization, population loss, and financial mismanagement. While there's been a comeback narrative in recent years, new businesses downtown, tech startups, real estate flips, the city's economy is still highly vulnerable. Detroit's population has dropped from 1.8 million in 1950 to around 630,000 in 2024. That's more than a 65% decline, leaving behind a massive infrastructure with fewer taxpayers to support it. The economy remains tied to the auto industry, which is extremely cyclical. During the 2008 crisis, Detroit's big three automakers, Ford, GM, and Chrysler, teetered on the edge of collapse. Tens of thousands of jobs were lost, and the ripple effects crippled the entire region. If the U.S. falls into another recession, the auto sector could again face layoffs, plant closures, and slashed production. The poverty rate in Detroit is among the highest in the country, hovering around 30%, and the median household income is just $36,000, compared to the national average of nearly $75,000. That means most residents have little financial cushion for hard times. Vacant homes, limited public transportation, aging infrastructure, and ongoing crime challenges compound the risks. And despite revitalization efforts, many neighborhoods still look like ghost towns. So yes, Detroit is tough, it's gritty, it's resilient, but it's also fragile, especially in a national downturn. If the economy crashes, Detroit might not just wobble, it could collapse all over again, unless some serious safety nets are already in place.